And good morning. Well, good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. Here in Kiev on Monday, November the 25th. So the news that we are waking up to is not exactly the news we are waking up to today. It's more like the news we're getting after lunch or breakfast, depending on where you are. So, guys, I'm sorry. Um, as you know, I spent 3 days in the Donbass, 2 days in Dnipro. I had a red eye back last night. I didn't sleep well on the train. I got in about 6 a.m. I crashed. I slept until 4 o'clock. I didn't even get up to pee, which tells you I was exhausted. Um, Now, what is the news that we are waking up to on this Monday evening? There's two things at the top of my mind. There's the intermediate range ballistic missile attack on Dnipro, and there's the airplane crash in Lithuania. And we've heard a lot about the missile attack. Anybody who follows the TikTok channel has good information on the missile and what happened and everything. But what is the fallout? Right? What was the purpose of sending that missile? The purpose of sending that missile at the city of Dnipro was to convince the world that Russia was ready to deploy nukes, right? That it said to the world, look, we can hit you anytime, anywhere we want. We are just showing restraint in the face of your aggression. What has the practical result been? Was the world intimidated? Are Ukrainians fleeing Dnipro? No, they are not. It was just another loud night in 1,006 days of loud nights for the Ukrainians. The real impact of this strike, I don't see anybody else talking about. Medvedev, Kremlin mouthpiece, who has repeatedly threatened nuclear strikes against Washington, D.C., London, Paris, Berlin, Lisbon, for crying out loud, who has been the big mouth of the Kremlin shouting, nuke them all, nuke them all, nuke them all, nuke them all. Mr. Medvedev today said the words, we will not use nukes. We are not madmen in the Kremlin. I'm sorry? What? What? The chief nuclear propagandist for Russia today did a 180. How come? I'll tell you why. Because Xi Jinping did not like waking up to see that an ICBM had hit Ukraine in the news. I guarantee you he did not like that. He's already unhappy about North Korea. You think he's going to be happy about this? You think Narendra Modi's going to be happy about this? Who's depending on Russia for all that cheap oil to feed its hyper-growing economy? I don't think so. I don't think so. And then there's no telling what kind of communications went to the Russians from the West. Who's got nukes? Whose nukes work? They've reached the end of this bluff. They're at a point now where they've either got to fire off a nuclear device and accept the consequences, or they got to shut the fuck up. And Medvedev apparently is shutting the fuck up. It is about fucking time. That to me is the real story with this. It turned out it was not an ICBM, right? Even though that's what all of the headlines said on Thursday morning. But rather, it was a prototype of an intermediate range ballistic missile with a range of about 3,400 miles or 5,500 kilometers, packed with conventional munitions, 6 warheads, each warhead containing 6 submunitions, I believe of about 250 kilograms apiece. So 36, so in one missile, you've got 36 re-entry vehicles. And I say that because, right, what happens is the missile goes up into just the edge of outer space, and then it starts coming back down. And the first thing that happens is the warhead opens up, and the 6 separate warheads fan out and start following their trajectories. And then each of those opens up and sends out its 6 submunitions, right? So that's how this works. And those submunitions are said to have re-entered, maintaining a terminal velocity of a Mach 11, around Mach, that's 11 times the speed of sound. So when you see them come in on that video to Dnipro, they are traveling at an extraordinary rate. The boom that you are hearing is not just the explosion, but it's the sonic boom, which was responsible for so much of the broken glass around Dnipro this week. Okay, so that's the first thing, is the missile hit on Dnipro and its fallout. It might just get the Russians to shut the fuck up about nukes. Although God knows they are all over my page. The trolls are all over there threatening nukes. If anybody sees them, I'm engaging, which is a change in tactic for me. But I'm telling them, bring it on. Let them know that we welcome a nuclear escalation. Because we do. We should. Fuck them. Fuck them in the ear. They keep talking this bullshit, talking this bullshit, talking this bullshit. Let's see what the world does if they do it. Because I don't think anybody's going to stand for it. China, imports and exports to Russia are about 2% of their imports and exports. But for the Russians, it's 36 and 40% respectively. Xi Jinping cuts them off. That's the end of the Russian economy, which is already fragile and brittle as it is. Let them. Fucking let them. Show us who you are, Russia. Show us the face of chaos. And maybe the world will insist on order, finally. Now, the second thing today, and this is breaking news, as I understand, there was a plane crash in Lithuania. It was a DHL cargo plane. Now, we don't yet know why. Obviously, there's going to be an investigation. But it is peculiar that this plane came from Leipzig, which is where just 2 months ago, what was likely a proxy Russian attack on a DHL airplane saw an incendiary device burn before the plane was able to take off. We saw the same thing in Birmingham, England. Again, we believe Russian proxy, right? According to intelligence in both Germany and the UK, both of these attacks were likely local Russian proxy agents. And now this DHL plane has crashed in Lithuania, coming from Leipzig. So it's too early to point the finger at Russia. But if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck, right? So those are the two big things this morning. With a little bit of luck, this is the last news we are waking up to that I'm going to make public, because my lives should be restored. And so I am hopeful that tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my live ban will be over and I will be able to go live again. So please tune in Monday, November the 25th, right? The 25th, yeah. November the 25th, Monday, November the 25th on the Tickety Talk at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then starting tomorrow, News We Are Waking Up To will go back to its regular format for paid Patreon members only. There was one other thing I wanted to mention. And I don't talk about myself. I try not to talk about myself on here. I try to keep the focus on Ukraine. But I got to tell you guys, That 3 days I spent in the Donbass was extremely educational for me. There's a big difference between knowing that life out there is hard and then living through it, where you feel it in your bones. And I had the intelligence director for the Edelweiss group, base, gave me what I thought was about the best compliment I've ever gotten. I really felt seen by somebody when he said to me, "It is so impressive that you, a nobody, would come here and put yourself in danger to try to help us. I appreciate it." And that's exactly right. I am a nobody. I have nobody but you guys to support me. I have no military training. I have no medical training. I have none of the things these people really need, except a big mouth that's got an American accent. And so, as a nobody, as probably most of you think of yourselves, just an average person, a regular person in the world, I took action and did what I could do to try to be helpful at this critical inflection point in history. And it doesn't matter who you are, what kind of a nobody you are, we can all take action at this critical point in history. Figure out in your life what small things you can do and do them. In this time of ignorance, learn something. In this time of hatred, show the community you live in some love. In this time, this age of ignorance and hate, do what you can. And together, the cumulative effects of all of that will make a difference in the world. Thank you, my friends. I really appreciate everybody who supports this channel. Thank you.